Please excuse my extremely shiny face. The makeup that I do now is like a dewy glowy look, and it doesn't translate well to camera, I'm learning. But it looks great in real life, so I'm just gonna look greasy, and that's just the way it is. Hello everyone, my name is Lisa, and I'm the Viet vegan, because I'm Viet and I'm vegan, and today is a video where I have come back from a very long hiatus, because turns out when you have a toddler and you're the primary parent, your stay-at-home parent, it's very hard to do anything. I don't know how anyone does anything. Childcare was very expensive, so we didn't have any. And also I couldn't get in on any wait lists because the wait lists are like 2 years long and we had just moved. So anyway, that's the quick and dirty life update. I feel like Bean has stabilized slightly with sleep. I'm a bit better mentally because I've been regularly working out. I have more support here. And yeah, so I'm hoping to get back into making videos more regularly. I don't know how regular, but we'll see. I don't know what kind of content I want to do anymore. It'll obviously still be food related, but I just feel like the grocery hauls and the kind of content that I was doing before is no longer feasible with a toddler. So we'll see how it is. It'd be one thing if I like wanted Bean on camera, but I don't really want Bean like on the channel necessarily until they're like old enough where they can consent to doing that. So anyway, that's just the choice that we've made for our family. Other people make different choices, you know, whatever. Anyway, so we're gonna look in the fridge today. Forewarning, I share this fridge with my non-vegan sister-in-law, so any products that you see in here that aren't vegan, they're not mine. So we're gonna go through my fridge and we're gonna see, I've quickly just like organized it so I can access things a bit easier. But the things that we have some vegan protein. So we have Gusta, like beef strips, tuna, field roast sausages, some Beyond sausages, and then I have some pesto that needs to be used up. I have some Korean like water radish kimchi. I've got some leftover rice, different kinds of tofu. I have more tofu downstairs, but that's just like our ongoing like pantry tofu. I have some tofurkey, some onion. Those need to be used up. So I try to keep like the leftovers like front and center because I have ADHD and I struggle with seeing. I've got some cheese that needs to be used, but I do have pasta sauce that needs to be used up. I'm gonna bring these downstairs. We have a fridge in the basement that is just mostly condiments, although like, as you can see, there's still a lot of condiments in here. But I have like gochujang and samjang that needs to be put downstairs. I've been doing a semi-okay job of keeping my fridge kind of clean. But the main thing here is, I'm gonna bring you closer, the produce. There was like a weird ringing happening with my fridge, so I've just scrapped the audio and you get me. So I'm just going through my produce drawer. I used to keep the produce in my door, if you guys remember from my Hamilton house days, but now because we have a shared fridge, everything just lives in our produce drawer. So as you can see, we have some broccoli, some cucumber, some lettuce. I have this like slaw mix, green onion, some potatoes, a very sad center of some celery, a single lemon, and too many carrots to count. Like I have like 1.5 bags in there because I forgot that I had a bag at some point, so I just have a lot of carrots. I think the bones of what we're gonna make this week. I think we need to do pesto sandwiches. We need to buy tomatoes. Okay, let's make a list. Okay, so based on the things that are in our fridge, we're gonna make pesto sandwiches. These have been kind of on repeat for a while, so I don't think we're gonna do too many of them. We're just gonna use up the rest of that pesto paste that I made, pesto that I made. So we're gonna do pesto sandwiches, so we need tomatoes and maybe some bread. We have a couple loaves of bread, but I don't think that's enough for what we've got. We're gonna make curry, I think, and I think I need a protein for the curry, although I guess I could use the beef for the curry. So we're gonna make curry, Japanese curry. We're gonna use this stuff for that. I've got a lot of broccoli, carrots, I guess that's curry. And then I have red sauce. So I think I need to make a pasta dish this week. Pasta, maybe like a lasagna, although I need more pasta sauce. I don't think I need to make that much pasta, but maybe I do, I don't know. We'll make a pasta, and I have tofu downstairs, and we'll do like a tofu ricotta pasta, perhaps. I think that's the move. And we have cheese. Honestly, I kind of want to make like a ziti, like ziti, I don't know what that is. I just see like the rotini pasta, maybe basically a pasta bake. I'm gonna make a pasta bake. I'm not gonna think too hard about it. We have lots of produce to use. We do need some fruit, we need bread, we need tomatoes, we got lettuce. We do need to buy rice. We're low on rice. We cannot be low on rice in this household. I eat too much rice. I think we're good. So yeah, I'll check back when I have groceries from Costco. I don't know if I'm gonna do a haul. Bean is not the best at respecting the tripod, and I don't really want to knock over my very expensive camera. I think what's gonna happen is I'm going to make these foods throughout the week. These are like basically gonna be the 3 meals that we have, sort of like interchanging, and then I have coleslaw slaw mix or whatever, and I think I need to buy some more vegan chicken for wraps because I have tortilla wraps that need to be used up. I think we're good. I think that's a solid base for food this week. Honestly, I'm feeling pretty good about it. So anyway, I'll see you when I'm making the food. So for this video, you're gonna ask me for recipes, and I don't necessarily have them for you, but I do have like versions of these meals that are like proper recipes. They're just not this because I'm just cooking up what I have in my fridge. I'm making the tofu ricotta from my lasagna with some modifications. Basically, I'm just going off of vibes. The green goo stuff that I poured out of a package is this like pesto and tahini thing that I have from Vitamix. I have like 10 packs of tahini now, and I just need to use them up. So I just decided to use the pesto based one in this one, and it actually worked out really well. Normally when I make this, like if I just go off vibes and not for measuring from my like blog, I usually have to make some adjustments, but it was like perfect as is. So I feel pretty good about that. So for the pasta, I wanted something that would like work well with 2 layers. So like pasta and sauce, the ricotta, and then pasta and sauce again. I didn't want to make a full lasagna because I didn't really want to bake it for an hour. This did end up baking for half an hour anyway, and thankfully like it only took me half an hour to put together, so it was like pretty quick-ish, and then I just waited for half an hour for it to cook. So thankfully Bean and I had a very big smoothie before we had this meal, so we were like not that hungry. Granted, that was at like, I want to say 4. This dinner was at 7, so you know. Could have been worse, could have been better. Normally we eat dinner at 5:30, so 7 o'clock dinner was pretty late, but you know, it worked out. I just used up some pasta that I had. I had like 1/3 of a bag of the mini lasagna, and then I had some oven ready lasagna noodles. It was like 4 noodles, which is like an awkward amount. So I was like, okay, I'll just break these up and put them in the water. Turns out it works absolutely normally. So this is what I mean. So like the pasta and sauce mixed together plus the ricotta layer and then more pasta on top. I started with a bigger vessel, but then I realized I didn't have enough pasta, and so I just overstuffed this 8x8 pan, which was in retrospect a little silly, but it worked out fine. I briefly considered adding like a vegetable to this meal, but then I realized I'm just too tired and I just stopped caring. So no vegetable. I mean, there's some fiber in the sauce, right? That's basically a vegetable. You know, I did offer them a banana with the meal, so there is some fiber present at the meal. Did they eat it? No. But it's fine. They're vegan. They eat a lot of fiber throughout the day, so I'm not too concerned. I mean, we went to Costco before this and there was a lot of raisins on sample, so we're fine. I added some of the mozzarella cheese that I had on top, and I finished off the vegan parm. So I still have a little bit of mozzarella left, but that's no problem. We can use that easily. And so I feel like that successfully cleaned out the jar of pasta sauce that I had opened, some of the cheese, and you know, I added some protein, easy protein, and I used up one of the tahini packs. So I feel pretty good about this meal. Eddie said that it was very delicious. Honestly, this like combination of ingredients is always a hit with my family, even though it's like super simple and super basic. It's just like jarred food, honestly. I feel like I don't do a lot of like cooking. It's just mostly assembly. But Bean ate almost this entire serving, and you have to mix it up for Bean because they wouldn't eat it just like on its own. They wouldn't know to like mix it together, so that's why I mix it there. And I grabbed from the middle like a monster because Bean doesn't like crisp texture or like mixed textures, whereas I like a crispy, you know, corner piece or whatever, right? So anyway, that was a meal. It was successful. We have like 2 or 3 days of leftovers from this meal, which I think is perfectly fine. And I'll see you the next time I make a meal. So it's morning and I'm making fried rice. I'm starting with some carrot to use up the 1.5 bags of carrots, you know, slowly chipping away at it. I'm using carrot and some broccoli, and I'm also using the broccoli stem. I'm just gonna cut away the like rough outer part, and then the inside of the stem is really good. If you haven't had it before, it's like kind of like cabbage, like the texture of somewhere between carrot and cabbage, like slightly softer than carrot, but it has like a sweet broccoli flavor. I really like it. Bean really likes it too. That generally is the part of the greens they like the most. They don't really like the leafy parts of things like Shanghai bok choy or gailang or anything like that. They mostly eat the like firm stem, which I have cooked so it's like nice and soft. So this works out because, you know, it's less food waste and it's still got nutrients. So you cut away the outer part of the broccoli stem, you just eat the inside, and it's, you know, very similarly like carrot. I was getting kind of frustrated with Bean. It's really hard to cook with a toddler, especially in the morning before I've had coffee. Honestly, all things considered, they are usually pretty cooperative. They'll stand up with me and sometimes they'll help stir and they really like that, but sometimes they get really handsy and then it's hard.
I am cutting.
I'm cutting up some broccoli stem and then some carrots because we're gonna make fried rice. Yum, yum. Hey, don't shake that, please. That's not safe.
Is that camera on?
Yeah, the camera is on. Ah, no. We don't touch the camera lens like that. Nope. Okay, Mama's gonna move the camera because I don't want you to touch it. Honestly, that's probably the reason why I don't have more content, because it's hard to film with them around because they'll try to knock over the tripod. They're a ham for the camera. They really like touching new things, and I don't know if you know this about toddlers, but they have like zero impulse control at times. It can get really frustrating. I'm trying to give them more grace because, like I said, by all accounts, they're usually pretty good, and I have to just set the boundaries a few times. As you can see, they're really into like pouring right now, and they're like so fast. Their reflexes are so fast, and mine are not as fast as they once were, perhaps. Or maybe they're just so small that they're just super fast. So anyway, back to the food. First, I stir-fried the vegetables with some vegan fish sauce, and then that adds some more flavor to the vegetables while also like steaming them up a little bit so it cooks a little bit faster, and then it cooks out some of the liquid portion when I add in the rest of the fried rice component so it doesn't sog up the rice. Then I add the chopped up broccoli florets and then the day-old fridge rice that I had left over, and then I season with a little bit of dark soy sauce, mostly for color, a little bit for seasoning, and then I add powdered mushroom stock powder. This is like a brand that I found at the Asian market. I don't really like this one. It's like in the yellow container with a green top. It's fine. It just is really salty and doesn't pack as much flavor as it does salt. I also added some toasted sesame oil to kind of like add more oil to crisp up. I always forget how much oil is required when I'm making fried rice. I love making this for breakfast because it uses up a lot of old vegetables, broccoli, the carrot, and it also front loads the day with extra protein and fiber because Bean loves fried rice. Are you gonna help me? Okay, this is lime juice. Can you be very gentle with it? This is glass.
What this?
That's Dijon mustard.
Dijon mustard?
Okay, we're gonna make a bit of a coleslaw dressing to go with our salad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need this.
Yeah.
This?
You wanna squirt it?
Sure.
Hold on, let me shake it up first.
Sure that.
Shake it up.
Here we go. Mayo.
I got mayo on it.
Mayo.
All right, do you wanna squeeze? Oh wait, hold on. Wait. Wait, let go. Okay, now squeeze. Whoa. Nice squeeze. Okay, we're good. Can you pour this? Pour it in there?
Yeah.
All of it, yeah? Thanks for checking. Thank you.
It splash now.
It did splash a little bit.
Yeah. Sure.
You can stir it. Mom's gonna add some black pepper.
Mama,
Yes.
give my pocket.
Yeah, that's the black pepper. We have some garlic powder.
Garlic pepper. What the heck? Yeah, pepper, we
And a
good.
little bit of onion powder.
Avocado. Yuck.
You know what? I think we're gonna add some curry powder.
Oh, yummy.
Curry wraps.
Yeah, Kayla.
It'll go well with the lime juice.
Yeah.
You wanna keep stirring?
Mama, you make good. That is messy.
You want to taste?
Yeah.
You can dip your finger right there and just like dip your finger here. Yeah, and then lick it.
Is it yummy?
Again?
No. We don't double dip.
I tried some of that.
And was it yummy?
Putting salad.
Yeah, we're putting some salad in. Oh, that salad.
Yeah. This is salad.
That looks like the perfect amount of dressing.
Well, I was just thinking that.
So I realized that when I was making this video that this is, in my opinion, how most people cook, but then I'm confronted with the, I guess, the reality that a lot of people that I see or like that I know who like especially live in the cities, who work like pretty demanding high stress jobs, the payoff of like going to the grocery store, cooking your own food, and then doing the dishes after is like not that great, aside from like the financial reasons, right? So a lot of people would rather pay for takeout or buy meal kits or just eat like microwave foods or just, I don't know, like eat takeout, you know? But I think that there are more and more people who now are like financially forced to like buy their own food and cook it and whatever. Anyway, this video is for the people who didn't necessarily grow up with this as like a necessity, because again, I thought this was very normal, but apparently it's not. Or maybe like you grew up this way, but then you didn't necessarily learn this skill from your family. And like, I feel like I learned this mostly from being kind of broke in university and being vegan. You had to make everything yourself, right? So like if you want to eat a specific dish, you can't just like order takeout. You'd had to make it yourself. I feel like such a boomer when I say that out loud. Like back in my day, you had to cook everything yourself. But like truly, I didn't go vegan that long ago. It's been 10 years. So much has changed in the last 10 years that you can buy so many things pre-made, or it's just so much more convenient to be vegan now than it once was. But as a result, I feel like people have lost their ability to cook and like clean out your fridge, or, you know, cook in a way that is both delicious and also, you know, financially feasible, if that makes sense. And with the high cost of groceries these days, I feel like this has to be the reality for most families, and it blows my mind that this isn't for people. I don't know how you are affording life if you don't eat this way. But I also struggle with this because I have ADHD, right? You know, if I don't see things and they disappear and they don't exist anymore, and then they languish in my fridge, and then I'm like, oh my god, I gotta eat this, and then it goes bad, right? I'm being more conscious about this to prevent the food waste. By and large, this is how I cook. All right, so we're on to another meal that is a pretty big staple for cleaning out the fridge in our house, especially when it comes to like the last bits of carrot or onion, or in this case celery, where it's really wilty. It's kind of sad, but when you put it in Japanese curry, it doesn't matter because it all tastes delicious and you want it all soft and juicy anyway. I'm using lots of carrots. I'm roll cutting the carrots here because I find that they cook faster this way, while also still delivering that like comforting chunky stew carrot, because carrots take long to cook up if they're in like the big chunks, but when you roll cut them like this, they don't take as long. So, you know, now you know. You can see that I have like the celery tops kind of separate. I'm gonna add that in later because if I cook them at the same time as everything else, they're just gonna completely disintegrate, which might not be that bad, but they take less time to cook. This is the curry pack that we always have in our house. I used to have a mild pack and a medium hot pack, and I would make the mild pack separate for Bean, but then I noticed that Bean doesn't mind the spice, so we just use the medium hot one. It's not really that hot, really. Like there's just like a lingering little amount of heat, but Bean eats it and doesn't even think about it, so I stopped making the mild food for them. I think what it was is that they've been eating kimchi, and they also really like to eat spicy noodles with me. If I make instant ramen, they will have noodles with me. I won't really give them the broth, but I will give them noodles that have the broth on them, and they can eat the spice from that. So I think I've built up their tolerance that way, which is kind of impressive. These are some Gusta beefless strips that I bought. I think they were at Freshco or Sobeys, one of those. I usually stockpile like 2 to 3 different kinds of vegan proteins, and then I build my meals around whatever proteins that I have. I usually will buy what's on sale. I bought these beef strips when they were on sale, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to use them for, but I'm sure I'll use them in something. And they were delicious in this. I think they were perfect. They're really like juicy, and they like soak up the liquid pretty fast. I also add peas for a little extra green. You could also add broccoli, but I used up broccoli earlier this week. That is the meal. This is about 7 or 8 servings. And Bean really likes this with the big chunks of carrots, so is always a win in our house. The last meal has been like a hyperfixation meal. I think we've had versions of this sandwich probably at least once a week for the past like 4 weeks, which is my pesto tofu tomato sandwich. And the variation is usually whether or not it's on different kinds of bread. This day we went to Cobb's bread, and I saw the focaccia and I was like, ooh, that would be really good for this sandwich. And as you can see, I kind of like struggled with figuring out how to cut it for both me, Eddie, and Bean, but I think it worked out. This tofu is just marinated in Italian dressing. I just wanted something like super simple and kind of like not requiring a lot of pistons firing in my brain, you know what I mean? It's a really good way of using up tomatoes. I mostly did this when I had an excess of tomatoes from my grandpa, but then now I like it so much that I've just been buying more tomatoes to eat with it because it's so simple, but it's so good. I just pan fried that tofu and I just sear it on both sides. You can marinate it for, I would say like up to 3 days, and then I would suggest you eat the tofu by the 3-day mark. I'm using cheddar here. Normally I would use mozzarella cheese, but I don't know, I think we ran out. And so I just had the cheddar. It was the one that was like the block sort of variety of cheese, and so it wasn't as like, I don't know, I don't like eating into like a chunk of cheese like that. So I shredded it up, and Eddie was skeptical about the cheddar at first, but it was really good. The best ingredient in sandwiches is air, apparently, because that's why you like fold your meat, the like deli slices, to be in that like sort of like floofy way, so it's like nice and fluffy. And then the same with the cheese. I used to like scoff at that, but honestly it makes a lot of sense. And then yeah, Bean doesn't like tomatoes, so I don't put tomatoes on their sandwich, and that's pretty much it. Mayo, cheese, tomato, pesto. And for the pesto, I think I might have a version of this recipe on the blog, but I don't really measure when I make pesto anymore because it really depends on how much basil you have. So I just kind of eyeball. I add basil, olive oil, half a lemon juiced, maybe like 2 tablespoons of sunflower seeds. If you had pine nuts, you can do that, but I'm allergic to tree nuts, so I don't use pine nuts. I use a little bit of nooch, decent amount of vegan parm, salt. I think that's it. And yeah, and then I add the pan-fried tofu on top and tomatoes. And when you add the tomatoes, make sure you add a little bit of salt and pepper because I think it just goes a long way. And that's it. It's a very simple sandwich. And I did add lettuce because I had lettuce to use up. And I wasn't sure if this would work, but it did. The lettuce actually added a nice crunch. And then, as you can tell, Bean doesn't like tomatoes, so I don't put tomatoes on their sandwich. And they ate probably half the sandwich, and I probably only ate about half. Eddie was so excited about the sandwiches that he like inhaled his and then kind of was eyeing mine hungrily. And he didn't want to pressure me, but I think he appreciated the sandwich a lot more than I did, so I gave him half my sandwich. And so that was it. That was the meal. So this used up the leftover pesto that I had in the fridge, as well as some of the tofu and the lettuce that I needed to eat. So all in all, a very successful meal. In, you know, it's well-rounded, it's balanced, it's delicious, and it used up some ingredients that I need to use up in the fridge. I would show you the like results in the fridge, but immediately after I bought stuff to make kimchi, and then I did a grocery shop right after. So I don't have the results, but the fridge was very nice. Eddie complimented me. He was very happy about the state of the fridge because sometimes I get very ambitious, and like right now our fridge is actually quite full because I made kimchi, and the kimchi tub that I have is like this big, and so that takes up probably like 1/3 of the space that we have in the fridge, as I mentioned, because I share the fridge with my sister-in-law. That's my bad. But Bean is really enjoying the kimchi, and you know, that's like one of the few ways they like regularly enjoy raw vegetables. That's pretty much it. As I mentioned before, I feel like most people who like cook this way because it reduces food waste, it's more economical, and that's just like decent fridge management. But I have struggles because I hyperfixate on meals, and then all of a sudden I just don't want to eat those meals anymore. And so then I have like batches of those ingredients, and I'm like, what am I gonna do with all this tomato, etc. So I think this is like kind of where I'm gonna be gearing my content towards, because I started doing it again this week because I got overwhelmed in the fridge, and I haven't been filming it here, but I've been filming it for Instagram. So I know a lot of you don't have Instagram, but if you do, follow me on there, because that's where I've been posting the like, okay, here's my plan this week, here's all the chaos in my fridge, here's probably with the meals that I'm gonna make, and I'll share it there. And I might make like condensed versions of those shorts to post on YouTube. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I have missed seeing you guys and responding to you in the comments. I've really missed YouTube, and Bean is starting preschool next week, which is like blowing my mind. So hopefully that gives me an extra like 6 hours a week where I can work, which I know is not a lot of time because they're only half days, because they're not even 3 yet. So anyway, it's not like daycare, it's just preschool, and it's only like the half day. So anywho, that's life lately, and there's a lot of you that I have responded to the comments a lot over the years, and I feel like I've been missing you, and so for the last like year I haven't really been posting, and I would love to know what's new with you, what's new and exciting that you're happy about. I miss talking to y'all. Anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos, which will hopefully happen regularly again. Well, how do I end these videos again? Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a delicious day. Bye-bye. Oh, also, if any of you are in the Toronto area, I have, there's like Toronto Veg Fest, which is now called VegTO. I am presenting on stage noodles. I'm partnering with Nongshim and VegTO to talk about noodles. So if you want to talk about noodles and also see me, feel free to say hi. I think it's on September 21st and my presentation is at 2:30. I think there's also a panel at 1, but I'll be around. So anyway, if you're in Toronto, September 21st, I'll see you there. Okay, bye.